theologians or liberal theologians find it difficult. If God pronounced the death penalty on Adam, how come the rest of the world, everyone came under? It resulted in the judgment of all men. Verse 18, judgment came to all men, resulting in the condemnation of all men. So, if that serial killer was sentenced to death, what does that has nothing to do with me, right? It has nothing, you know. They think they should not be guilty for the sin of Adam, right? So, do you realize how this will affect your faith and your confidence? How this will affect how you view yourself? Do you really feel you are better than Adam? Mang Camelo, are you more righteous than Adam?
More wicked than Adam.
Do you think if you were at the garden, do you think you could have resisted the temptation?
Uh-huh.
Ano to eh? Okanagan apples to eh. May mga pahabol na pitas pa to eh. Di ba? If you were there, you probably harvest 3 buckets.
Mabilis yan.
Right? So could you have done otherwise? Could you have just resisted it? In other words, could you have just resisted it, obeyed God if you were the one at the garden instead of Adam? Well, I don't think so. I think what Adam did represents what every single person would do if they were there, right? If I was there, it doesn't matter who you put there, they would do the same thing, right? Because the way Romans 5 was composed by the author, you would arrive at the conclusion that Adam represented the whole world, even the unborn children, right? He represented everybody. So what he did there represented all of us. Because he was guilty, God passed judgment. Remember Genesis 3, after the fall, God passed the judgment, right? To death you shall return, from dust you were made, to dust you shall return. Blah, blah, blah. Women will now experience labor pains, and people will now have to work 2 or 3 jobs to make a living, right? So that was the curse of sin. So when that condemnation judgment was passed to Adam, it wasn't just to Adam but to all humanity, right? Now even unborn children will die. As soon as even newborn babies, unborn children, everybody will die physically. So maybe some people find this hard, how come we were affected by the sin of Adam, right? So the way Romans 5 was composed, the way Paul wrote this is, Adam represented the whole humanity, and if he was guilty, everyone was guilty. If he were to die, that applies to every single person. If he lost the divine nature, remember the divine nature, he was created innocent, but after the fall, I really believe that's when total depravity entered his nature. He became a depraved person. He became a sinful person. It's a condition, it's a nature that came upon as a result of disobedience. So instantly he switched from divine nature to sinful nature, Adamic nature, or fallen nature. We call this the fallen nature or the depraved nature. And so this is where some theologians, some modern theologians, disagree with this. They think we should not be equally guilty with the sin of Adam, right? That Adam is guilty for his sins. Although they would admit that we are also guilty, but for our own sins. Individuals is personal, not Adam's sin. So that's their argument. That's his sin. He's guilty for that. You know, I have my own sins. I'm guilty for that. So, and then they think that every baby is born innocent until the baby sins. Right? Then he becomes like Adam, right? But that's a different view. So I'm not guilty. I have a newborn baby. He's not guilty of the sin of Adam. He's still innocent. But when he's 5 years old, he begins to rebel. That's when he becomes a sinner because of his own actions. But the first 5 years, maybe he's innocent. And some argue that innocent babies, when they die, they go to heaven, right? But maybe, we don't know. The Bible is not clear, right? Because, you know, every time I argue, the whole week I was arguing with people who denies original sin. And sumakit nga ulo ko. But, you know, I have a couple of verses that I threw at them. You know, Psalms 58 verse 3 that says, you know, the wicked is separated from God from the womb. See? As soon as you conceive the baby, 30-day-old fetus, that baby is already separated from God. You know, the wicked is estranged, in other words, alienated, separated from God, right? From the womb. And speaking lies as soon as he is born. See, as soon as that baby is born, that baby is speaking lies. So it seems like the sinful nature is inborn, right? In Psalm 51, David said, you know, in sin my mother raised me,
Conceived me.
I was born with a sinful nature. In other words, I was born with a sinful nature, and in sin, in the womb. From the womb, I was conceived in sin. From the womb. You know, in sin, my mother conceived me. It seems like the moment he was a fetus inside his mother's womb, he already had the sin nature, right? Because he said, I was born in sin, and in sin my mother conceived me. That's the word, right? An adulterer, a backbiter, a slanderer. So, yeah, the debate, where do babies really, well, some people say they go to heaven, some people say no, they're born with the sin nature, they go straight to hell. Well, only God knows. I don't debate that because it's not clear. But how does God deal with babies who were born with the sin nature from the womb? So that's, how will God judge them, right? If they die a 3-year-old, 2-year-old, how would God judge them? I don't know. But here it's clear. The impact upon us is clear. Let's talk about how it affected us. So when Adam was proclaimed guilty, I was also guilty, even though I was not born yet. When he was condemned, when he was judged, I was also judged and under condemnation. Remember verse 18, condemnation came to all because of the sin. All are under condemnation, verse 18. Judgment came to all men, resulting in condemnation. So we are born under the condemnation of God. From day one, as soon as you are born, you are speaking lies. It's already separated from God from the womb. So, yeah, we were born. The way I see this, we were born with Adam's nature. We were born with the same nature as Adam, right? You don't have to wait until you commit your first act of sin. You already had sin as a condition of the heart. It's a condition, not an act. It's a condition, not an act, right? You can say maybe, no, I don't have cancer. Yeah, because it's not yet showing up, but you have cancer inside of you. You already have the condition of cancer.
Yeah.
So
everybody has cancer.
how can you say that You're not a sinner when you have a fallen heart already, right? And the condition is what will produce the action later on in life, right? So yeah, no matter how you deny original sin, I believe it's the classic Orthodox belief of the evangelical churches, the doctrine of original sin. If you're questioning it nowadays, I don't know, is that a sign that you're becoming liberal, right? Because all kinds of error, as soon as you entertain there's no original sin, that was Adam's fault, I'm a different person, I'm a much better person, then self-righteousness, salvation by works will enter into the picture, right? Maybe kaya mayroong mga taong ang basis ng salvation nila yung paano nila pinoproject. Pagpaka-righteous ka lang. Good works. Be a nice person. But that's not how I understand the gospel. That's why Paul said we are not saved by works, not by self-righteousness. Why? Because you cannot you cannot produce true self-righteousness because of the sin of Adam. You were born with the Adamic nature, right? The depraved nature, and you are born under condemnation already instantly. As soon as you're conceived, you're separated from God. As soon as you're born, you're under condemnation and judgment of God. You need to be born again. That's why John chapter 3, Jesus said to Nicodemus, you must be born again. John 3. John chapter 3, Jesus said, because those who are born in the flesh are flesh. Malinaw, di ba? But those who are born in the Spirit are spirit. That's revelation from God. What did Jesus mean? Those who are born in the flesh are flesh. Those who are born in Adam are Adamic.
Sinners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those who are born of the Spirit in Christ Jesus,
thank you, Lord.
They are a new creation.
Thank you, Lord.
Right? That's how you enter you cannot enter the kingdom of God with your Adamic nature. You need to have the new nature of Christ. The righteousness of Christ in you when you become born again, right? So, because we've been impacted by the sin of Adam, no matter how you read this. Like one person kept saying to me, we're guilty for our sins, not because of the sin of Adam. So you mean to say you can grow up becoming a much better person than Adam if you just choose to be more righteous, self-righteous? I don't think so, because if you put one rotting apple in a box, everybody rots, right?
No.
Yeah. If Adam got COVID, everybody gets COVID, right? If Adam was infected by sin, we all have it. Because you cannot separate our connection, because Adam was our first parent. Amen? That's why I said to this girl, she's a lady, said we are offsprings of Adam, right? And whatever happened to Adam, whatever he lost in the garden, we lost. He lost his innocence. He lost the divine nature. We lost it too, because we are his offsprings, right? And whatever judgment came to him, condemnation, even though we're unborn, same thing was passed on to us, to all men, right? And Jesus, what did Jesus say? The fruit is determined by the tree, right? Jesus gave that parable to illustrate the hypocrisy of the Pharisees. The Pharisees, the religious leaders. Jesus condemned their hypocrisy and self-righteousness. That's why Jesus said, a corrupt tree cannot produce good fruits, right? A bad tree cannot produce good fruits. And a good tree cannot produce bad fruit. So, in other words, it's the tree that identifies the fruit,
Yeah.
that determines the fruit. If it's black apples, it will produce black apples, right? Meron bang black apple?
Wala.
I think if there's such thing as a black apple, nobody will eat it.
Unless you grot it, what do you call that?
Because it looks demonic.
It bears another fruit.
Yeah. So it's the tree that determines what the fruit is. So if Adam was corrupt, if Adam fell at the garden,
Yeah.
plum. If Adam fell at the garden and corruption entered his heart, and I am his offspring, I came from Adam, right? So I possess the same nature.
Yeah.
That's why the first children committed the act of murder, right? Was that Cain and
Cain.
Abel, the first murder committed by siblings? Are they siblings? They're siblings, right?
Yeah.
Can you imagine that happening in your family?
Cain and Abel.
That's very traumatizing, right? Because they were offsprings of Adam. They were born from Adam, right? Yeah, so I really think there's no way we can get away from Adam. Kaya, beware, of self-righteousness. We're all descendants of Adam. And sometimes we hear about parents, and they're meeting their future balaes,
Meeting.
and they try to gauge one another. Mabubuting tao yan,
In the outside.
Talaga? Okay, mag-aaway after 2 years, ha?
Kilalanin.
Thank you, Lord.
Mabubuting tao. They're good people, that family, they're good people. That child, he came from a good tree, I'm very proud of him, He will be my son-in-law, Amen. I will have a son-in-law in Calgary, amen.
Thank you, Lord.
It's official, amen.
Thank you, Lord. Hallelujah. Not too soon,
God.
please.
There you go.
Official,
Yeah.
amen. Official.
Oh, wow.
Good man, mature.
Yeah.
Amen.
Pray.
He goes to church, Christian,
Engineer.
endorsed by my own son, Sam.
Oh, wow.
So, 26 years old,
Yeah.
mechanical engineer.
Another apo is coming.
Amen. Go ahead.
Thank you, Lord.
It's time.
Yeah.
You have to
Lord.
start somewhere. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you,
But then
Lord.
when I look at people, there are no good people. I mean, that's why Jesus said nobody is good except the Father, right? There are no good people. We're all descendants of Adam, and we're all fallen, and we only become good when we receive the righteousness of Jesus Christ. Amen? So without Christ in you, you're a fallen creature. You're a fallen sinner. Right? And you have to accept this, brother. For if you are 60 years old and you don't have Christ, you have been living 60 years under condemnation and judgment of God. Right?
Yeah.
If you don't have Christ, you are already under the judgment and condemnation of God. Because verse 18, because of one man's sin, judgment came to all men, resulting in condemnation. So, amen. There's one more verse here. Amen. Where's that? Anyway, forget it. Because Adam was the prototype. Adam at the garden was the prototype of all humanity. Right? Amen. He was a pattern, of things to come. Adam was the pattern, the prototype of what is to come. Everybody born into this world is just like him. Like father, like son. Even though our sin is not identical. Even though he ate the fruit, well, I just stole the pencil, I didn't eat the fruit. I just parked at the wrong parking, I know it's no parking, but I gambled. I violated the municipal code, the city bylaw. I mean, that's nothing compared to the sin of Adam. No, we're all the same, brother.
Yes.
Amen? You are not more self-righteous than Adam. Because he was your prototype. He was your pattern. Right? You are a carbon copy of the pattern. Amen? Praise God. So it's really hard to deny this. Original sin simply means the first sin. That's where it all started at the garden. And it spread to all of us. That's why we need salvation. We need to be saved from sin. We need to be reconciled to God. Amen. Now we're going to focus on the good news. Amen. So in Adam, we all fell. 1 Corinthians 15:22. In Adam, we all die, but in Christ, we shall live. That's the gospel. 1 Corinthians 15:22. And then here in verse 19. Okay, this is the comparison. Because of one man's disobedience, many were made sinners. So also by one man's obedience, that's Jesus, many will be made righteous. Amen. So by one man's obedience, Jesus obeyed the cross. Can you say amen?
Amen. Amen.
That was his mission. The reason why Jesus came to this world, brother, is to die on the cross. And Jesus obeyed that commandment. By one man's obedience, by Jesus' obedience, many were made righteous. So the only way we can reverse the condition of Adam, the sin nature of Adam we were born with, is to receive Christ, to believe in Christ. Because in Christ, we will be made righteous. When you believe in Jesus. Amen. When you become born again, you will receive a new nature. Amen. You will become a new creation when you become born in Christ. So your first birth, you were born in Adam. Your second birth, you are born in Christ. Now, Jesus said you need the second birth before you can enter the kingdom of heaven. You need the second birth. You need to be born in Christ, born of the Spirit, born again. Amen. So that's the good news. Amen. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. That's the good news. Amen. Let's read again Romans. Let's read the gospel here. Romans 3:23. Romans 3:23. For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. For all have sinned. It's true. Romans 5 said, because of Adam, all sinned. Right? Here in Romans 3:23, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. All have sinned. So you cannot say that I'm not a sinner, I'm a good person, I was trained, raised up by my parents. You can't say that. Because your first parent is corrupt, and your own parent is also corrupt, because they all came from Adam. Amen. Amen. So, therefore, all have sinned. Then 6:23, Romans 6:23. This is the gospel. This is the good news. For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life in Christ Jesus. The gift of God is eternal life in Christ Jesus. In Adam, you received condemnation, but in Christ, you will receive eternal life. Forgiveness of sins. salvation. Amen. Reconciliation with God.
Thank you,
Amen.
Lord. Thank you, Lord.
Remember, from the womb, you